Hey guys, I'm here on the editing room. I just want to get this guide out. I can't sync up all the video footage showing what I'm talking about. I believe I will re-release this when I can prepare all those clips. I just want to get this draft out so that it can actually help and educate. I'll try to get this out very soon, if not the next day. Thanks for understanding. I guarantee that you will learn at least one thing that you did not know about DMZ by watching this guide. If you did learn something new, hit the like button, throw a comment down there. What's up, everybody? I'm Albie13. Okay, today I want to talk about Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2's Warzone 2.0 DMZ game mode. I've been playing this game and collecting a lot of information because I really believe that it is an information game. Being armed with information about the game helps you play it better and helps you come out on top. So it was interesting to go around and gather information on everything related to DMZ. I know there's going to be a lot of seasoned players that watch this and already know about a lot of these tips. When you're playing DMZ, you can cancel missions by pulling up your map. On the computer, it is the B button. On console, you'll get prompted what button it is to cancel a mission. One of the first things you learn in DMZ is that there are 3 tiers of enemies. There are the usual street people, enemies that you see on the street. Then you'll notice that there are some tougher enemies. They're in green and they have armor. They're called Tier 2. And finally, you'll see the tan, blue enemies, and those are Tier 3. They have the most health, the most armor, and they're hardest to kill. They also have better weapons. You may not be familiar with the 4th tier or the Black Ops, Spec Ops soldiers. They're found inside Building 21. With the tiers of enemies explained, you should know something else. Enemies will be in one of 2 states. They will be in a casual state where they will generally not shoot you extremely well, or they will be in what we would call a lasering state, where they will shoot you with what people call aimbot. They basically will target you extremely aggressively and they will shoot you from very far away. So it's not enough to just know if enemies are a high tier or a low tier, but also to understand if they are lasering or not. Find the exact map location and also learn about what it looks like when you're standing there. That's going to help you to complete everything efficiently. And I've been in situations where I knew the map location, but I still didn't know how to find the exact spot. So that would be my tip. One tip I'll give is try to cater your missions to the area where you spawn. Even though you have a lot of time, you never really have as much time as you would want because DMZ can be very unpredictable, especially when enemy player teams are involved. If you really want to get things done, especially when missions get harder or longer, focus on that one mission and nothing else. Don't get distracted by looting. Don't get distracted by trying to do more than one mission at a time. Did you know that you can drive through water? Your car is able to function and drive through a small amount of water. If there's ever a dip in the water, you could actually just drive right through it and your car will not be affected. Your speed isn't affected as long as you have a lot of momentum. If you're driving in higher water, it is possible, like the dune buggy was able to tread water well and not get caught out. You're also, for some reason, able to drive longer in water. For example, in the broken part of the overpass, you can drive a chop top through that entire area, even though it's all deep water there. The car will tend not to get stuck. If you're newer to DMZ, you might not know how bad the train is at this time. The current state of the train is that sometimes you can actually fall through the cars and get trapped under the train. Looting is very difficult on the train, as you will learn. When you try to open boxes, it will kick you out. It will kick you out of the looting box, and it also kicks you out of looting backpacks when enemies die on the train. What I could tell you as a tip is to try going prone or holding the button down or tapping the button and quickly moving to get the items out. Um, the worst time to loot is when the train is rounding around a corner. When it's actually turning, everything seems to be even worse. Much like Warzone, that you can't hit the train or your car will explode pretty much near instantly. So always avoid that. Always avoid touching the train. If you ever take a car too high off an edge and drop down, it will blow a tire. Tires can also be destroyed by being shot. You can fix your tire by getting out of the car, walking over to it, and you will have a fixed tire prompt. That will get you back on track. It's actually slower to wait for the vehicle to fill up its gas than it is for you to get out of the vehicle, go into the gas station, and pick up the gas container. Pick that up, go back in the car, start driving, and quickly fill the gas from the gas container. Sometimes I'll grab two so that I can use one to fill and have one extra. I'll even grab three if three are available, because what you can do is you can take the gas can and you can take it out of your inventory, out of your backpack, and drop it on top of the car. So you'll always have a gas can with that car. What I consider to be the best vehicles to use in DMZ is the Chop Top, the convertible SUV. It's fast, decent coverage. It has a nice loading area in the rear, which you can use for like hostage missions. The LTV is pretty good. Sometimes it's a little slow. The Dune Buggy is really fast acceleration, great for climbing up, and it seems to go over objects better. The ATV is especially fast, but as you know, it doesn't really have a lot of cover, and that's pretty much my favorite vehicles. There are certain places where you will find the high tier loot. The orange boxes indicate you're in a high tier loot area. There will be denied areas, black sites, and places on the map where you can find them. What I recommend doing is looking at where high tier loot is on the map and exploring those areas so you can learn them by memory. Another great place to loot that isn't necessarily orange boxes is what they call the ammo depots. The ammo cache areas are a rectangle building with 2 floors, and it has an unlimited ammo box in there. You'll often find nice items, even up to a level 3 vest, guns. You might even find kill streaks. Players have created maps for things like hidden cash barrels in the ground that you can go around and open without a mission. You can collect dog tags. When I first started playing this game, I didn't notice they were far off and to the left, and they start out as a bronze color. So they're hard to notice. On the full left, when you open somebody's backpack, you can grab the dog tag. You can sell them for $2,500, or you can extract them for missions. You should be aware that you will be tracked when you take somebody's dog tags. You can also put the dog tags down, and it will just track the location of the dog tags so you can move away from them. You can use that as a distraction or just to stop enemy teams from tracking you, specifically the team that you took the dog tags from. Something carried over from Warzone is that if an enemy team of players is attacking you from a distance, you can just have 1 or 2 players do what's called no-plate sniping. They can just keep shooting and damaging the enemy team, wearing down their resources. But what you do is you don't use your plates. Preserve your plates. They don't get messed up when you get downed. Your team can just keep reviving you, and you can keep wearing down the other team. It also gives you opportunity to snipe and down players. One of the newer tactics is, after you get yourself a self-revive kit, get in the habit of, when you find extra self-revives, put at least 1 extra self-revive in your backpack. If you use a self-revive pistol, that will be the first thing that gets used, then your self-revives. If you use your self-revive, it will be automatically loaded from your backpack into your self-revive slot. So it'll be always ready to revive you, even if you get downed multiple times. I find pinging and marking to be extremely useful. It's useful for yourself and it's useful for your teammates. You can mark locations of where you're traveling to. You can mark enemy vehicles very well. You can understand the state of enemy vehicles, whether an enemy is in it or out of it based on if it's red or not when it's marked. It's useful for AI as well as players, and they can be live marked through other means. But using the ping allows your teammates to track them. Pinging is probably one of the most underused features across all video games, especially first person shooters. So I really recommend using it as much as you can, as smartly as you can. And that means removing old pings that are no longer relevant. If you ping an AI, I get in the habit of removing the red ping so that your team no longer looks for enemies in that location. There are all kinds of items in DMZ. Some of them can stack, meaning you can put many of those items in the same backpack slot. So it's important for you to learn which items you can stack and how many you can stack in one slot. Do you want to look like an NPC? Some of the skins blend in. Players like to pretend to be the AI so that they blend in easier. If you monitor your map, you will notice that the enemy will activate things on the map. This is how you can reverse track where players are around you. If you look at the map, especially looking at things like SAM sites or UAV towers, they will turn red. If you know that your team didn't activate them, that means that an enemy team activated them, and there's a squad there. The way the helicopter works in DMZ, it is very difficult to slow down. So I recommend slowing down early so you don't have to fly around as much if you pass your target. You can refuel the helicopter at any gas station, whether it's marine or a regular gas station. You just need to be close to it, whether it's on top of it or next to it. One tip I could give you is, as a helicopter pilot, you're often going to be waiting for your teammates. Just floating above the ground makes you use a lot of fuel. So, land the helicopter gently and get out of it. That will stop the fuel consumption. You just have to be careful because the physics right now are not right, and sometimes tapping the ground causes damage to the helicopter. I try to approach very gently, and just as I'm right above the land, I will exit the vehicle and monitor the helicopter to make sure it stops in a gentle position. Work in DMZ is they apply a major damage reduction to you. So when you're driving by AI being shot, you get damaged, but it's very, very little. That keeps your survivability up and your plate resource usage down. So be careful standing on top of vehicles because you won't have this damage reduction. When you're dealing with a slow truck like the LTV, try to keep the truck moving. Accelerating from a stop is very, very slow. So if you stay on the accelerator and just get off and get back on the accelerator, even though you're moving slow, you can accelerate much more quickly. I often get asked what field upgrades people should use. The most obvious is a munitions box, but I've actually heard from seasoned players that munitions box is not as attractive as you would think, because in DMZ you can find them everywhere and you can buy them for 1,000 cash, which is actually quite easy to get just by doing normal things or normal looting. So some of my favorites are the recon drone. Even though recon drones are common, I like to have recon drones right out of the gate and not be looting, having to look for a recon drone so that I can have one on standby. This helps you to identify enemy players, which gets your survivability up. The obvious favorites are ones that you actually can equip from home, and that is the armor box or the revive pistol. But you can find those in the field and you can exfil and it will keep it and save it for your next game. If you need to get a hostage out quickly, put the hostage on top of a car. Then you can drive the car around and get to the extraction point. Sometimes it's helpful to do the hostage mission and keep the hostage without extracting on the helicopter. This will keep your helicopter ready to go. You can just take the hostage, put him down somewhere safe. As long as the hostage doesn't die, it will wait there for the entire game. The only downside is that you can't do other missions. Be careful when you place the hostage down on the helicopter because it will start a short timer and then it will take off. If your teammates are not ready, they won't be able to get on the helicopter in time. If you have some kind of pistol, you can use that while you're carrying the hostage so that you're not unarmed. When I first started playing DMZ, I had a hard time and my team had a hard time defusing the bomb in time. One of the great things you can do on some of the hostage rescue buildings is you can actually sneak in. This will prevent the timer from starting, and generally you won't have to deal with all the enemies inside. Do you need to clear a hostage mission lightning fast? Some buildings are easier than others. As you play, you'll learn some of the smaller buildings are much quicker to clear. The best hostage missions have the start of the mission, the rescue in the building, and the escape helicopter extremely close to each other. Did you know that you can sneak into strongholds without a key? There's a notable building in the north that you can break the glass on the roof and slip in. The best thing to combat the way the AI is right now is to use range. Using sniper rifles outside of where the AI is activated basically allows you to pick off enemies, and that helps you to clear areas efficiently without losing plates. Aiming and using a kill streak will also activate the AI, even though it appears you're using it in a stealthy manner, so be careful with that. The approximate range of a UAV tower is 125 meters. Some players are new to DMZ and not very well versed with sniper glint. So, using the scopes, it will generally tell you if there's a large glint or a small glint. Some players believe that only sniper rifle scopes give you a glint, but there is a new small glint in Warzone 2.0 for some of the scopes. Another benefit of the spotter scope is that it doesn't glint like small glints and large glints on sniper scopes. Do you want a free LTV? You can start the cargo mission for the LTV, enter the warehouse where the LTV is stored, and cancel the mission. This will allow you to keep the LTV without buying it. Often a player will have a vehicle and players are trying to get to certain places, but it doesn't make sense for them to run back to the car or get in the seat. So one of the things that you can do is you can push players with the vehicles just to give them a little bit of a speed advantage. Now a little lesser known thing is somebody can get downed and die. If they're out in the open where snipers are covering them, you can take a vehicle and you can push their dead body with the blue healing icon and push them somewhere safe, or push them somewhere where you can use the vehicle as cover, and then you can res them. I found the best way to use the Geiger counter is to sweep it back and forth, left and right when you're searching, so that you can see the number rising as you get closer and walk forward. Adjust the direction until the number goes up and continue sweeping back and forth. When I first started playing, I didn't even know what the radioactive item looked like that I was searching for. There are these radioactive caches in the ground that are barrels buried in the ground. There's actually one in the map near the hydroelectric that shows the entire barrel excavated from the ground. You should know what it looks like so that you can spot it without wasting time. And sometimes you don't even need to check the Geiger counter anymore once you get close and know what to look for. You can sell the nuclear rods for $7,500 at buy stations. Helping your team and doing your missions at the same time. Most missions count for any squad member who has the mission equipped. A noteworthy exception was the mission for eliminating a HVT, a high value target. If your friends need help with their missions and you have your mission equipped, it will count for you as well. So you can do 2 for 1. Activating SAM sites doesn't just shoot down enemy airplanes and helicopters. It also will net you a supply drop. In DMZ, using a suppressor or a silencer matters. The AI will generally not activate and hear your shots when you're using a silencer or a suppressor. Sometimes, on some guns, it appears that even with a silencer, the AI can hear you. I don't know why that is. I've just noticed that, but in general, the way it's supposed to work is that a silencer will keep the other AI from hearing you. One of my tips is to use a recon drone or even a bomb drone that you buy for intel. Don't tag enemies necessarily as a live tag with the recon drone. You may just use the ping function and it will not alert the enemy that they've been marked. If you live mark them, it will alert them, but it will leave a more permanent mark that will stay longer. You can use the recon drones to study where your enemy is moving, and be sure to ping them before you run out of battery. Avoid flying the drone near AI because the AI shoot it out of the sky very quickly. You can also take advantage of the new autonomous mode by leaving it in the sky. Just as I was making this guide, Call of Duty has decided to disable marking. It was working too well, and we'll see what they do when they implement it again. Currently, one of the best items to use is the spotter scope. It features thermal view and also a variable zoom with drone style marking. You can also see through smoke with the thermal view. It is believed that enemies are not notified that they're being spotted with the spotter scope at this time. The reason why we think that is that enemies don't seem to react when they're being live pinged with the spotter scope. It seems like the spotter scope can see through a lot of foliage very well and will easily identify enemies even though they're not in clear view. So it's good to sweep around with the spotter scope. The fastest way to clear enemies is by headshotting them. It may seem difficult at first, but if you train yourself, it will be much more efficient. It can be an annoying way to play, but if you want to be a pro at operating in the DMZ, it'll just be one of the things that you'll be good at. Keys can have up to 3 uses. It will be indicated on the key, marked by 3 little rectangle boxes. The amount of uses left is noted on the key itself as well. When you find keys, sometimes they're in a used state, so they won't have all 3 uses available. When you access a locked area, be careful not to use the key again. Just because you open one door does not mean any of the other doors are open. You have to open the doors from the inside to not use your key up. You can deposit your money in the dead drops, and it's a safer way instead of trying to extract with it and maybe dying on the way out. It also gives you some multiplier, so it will help get your insured weapon faster by doing the dead drop money drops. If you want to skip the beginning of a nuclear search mission, you can already find a Geiger counter and store it. You can actually exfil with the Geiger counter and go back into DMZ with the Geiger counter, and it will skip the beginning of the mission. If you want to speed up bomb missions, you can actually clear the demolition sites of enemies and then pick up the demolition mission. If you want to be more efficient at all these missions, you can have one of your teammates ready to pick up the mission, and the other players can go for the sites, and so they'll be ready when the mission is programmed and activated. At this time, it doesn't appear that the AI bots can disarm explosives or stop the safes from being drilled. So don't be concerned about guarding the supplies. Focus on surviving and conserving your resources. Buy stations. You should know that there are many possible items for sale, and not all of them are available to purchase at every buy station. Also, there are some items that can only be bought once or 3 times, and then they will be sold out for the remainder of the DMZ game. One of the strategies that people use to take down the Juggernaut quickly is to use a stun grenade and everyone focus on headshots with their AR. You might know that grenades help you there, but did you know that you can be on extremely high angle and the Juggernaut cannot shoot any higher than a certain level? So if you stand in a very high area like Observatory Tower, the Juggernaut will not even be able to shoot you. if he's directly below you. Do you want to make the chemist fight easier? Try sniping from outside the radiation zone. You won't need to use a gas mask. The AI will generally not activate. Try to clear the enemies and find where the chemist is located. This will speed up the battle and make it easier and use less resources. The chemist is marked in yellow, so you can identify him easier. You can also use a spotter scope to look through the radiation fog. Taking radiation pills gets you about 2 minutes of no radiation damage. It seems right now there's a bug when you're wearing a gas mask and you take radiation pills, so make sure you don't have a gas mask. Farming the enemies in the radiation zone, they will drop gas masks you can store in your backpack. This is also something you can do if you want to farm the gas mask for a mission in the future. It looks like when the enemies go outside the radiation zone, they will no longer drop gas masks, so make sure that you kill the enemies in the radiation zone. Don't make the mistake of thinking that you don't have to clear AI. Clearing AI is a very important part of operating in the DMZ. You never know when I'm going to have to use an area when you're defending against players, for example. If you want to know if there are players around, look at the AI. If the AI are shooting at players or running around, or reinforcement choppers are coming in, or smoke grenades are being popped, there's a high chance that players are nearby. A word about UAV. When a UAV is activated, you will see the diamond with a hollow center. That indicates AI. But if you look closely, you will see solid filled diamonds. That indicates players. That's how you can identify if players are on the UAV. Most people think that the advanced UAV is useless, but I disagree. When you play DMZ long enough, you're able to recognize real players for multiple reasons. One of the ways you know if it's a real player is if they're moving across areas in a straight line. AI tends not to do that, so you can tell what is AI and what is not. There's also a special situation when you use an advanced UAV. An advanced UAV will show you AI and players directly around you, but in an extended range, you will actually see only players very, very far away. So you'll be able to actually know where teams are in different POIs. This seems to be a limitation of not showing AI when they're too far away from you. One of the good strategies is to have your friend build your gun and you build their gun with insured slots, and when you get in the game, trade. Doing so, if you're able to exfil, will allow you to turn those weapons into contraband, so you can have fully customized guns in your contraband. You're able to skip one of the missions in each of the factions when you have a story mission or the last mission. Choose carefully which mission you choose to skip. Now that everyone is getting into PvP more, I'm noticing that players are quick to down and eliminate, but they're not actually going up and interrogating. Interrogating enemies is very useful. You're able to learn who else is left on that enemy team, so make sure you do that unless you're not able to. The enemy players will be marked on the map with a solid red diamond. To get more intelligence about enemy players that you faced and killed, if you look at their bodies next to the backpack, if their body is there, that means they are still in the menu, they have not quit the game. If their bodies disappear, that means they have quit the game and they're no longer in the game. That can sometimes be an indication of a solo or duo where they've quit the game, they're not expecting to be revived. So that's probably a safe indication that they were a solo or duo and you've wiped the entire squad. It's really important for you to try to maintain at least 2 or 3 plates. You never know when you can be attacked by AI in this game the way the AI is, and you never know when you will encounter players. The possibility of players is high if they rotate. In most scenarios, you're sandwiched between 2 teams. If those 2 teams decide to rotate toward you, you're stuck in the middle, so make sure you keep your plates high. DMZ was recently updated to disable vehicles when they travel inside the weapon case yellow circle. You're able to drive the vehicle on the outside of the circle, which will allow you to maneuver, but if you go toward the center, Even helicopters will be disabled from midair, so be careful. If you're in a tight situation and you need to extract, you can actually parachute on top of the exfil helicopter and extract that way, unbeknownst to the people inside the helicopter. So you can wait for them to load into the helicopter, or you can wait for the helicopter to just start lifting off, parachute down on top of it, and they shouldn't be able to shoot you. You're also able to extract on the wings of the helicopter. The maximum party size in DMZ is 6 players. Teaming in Building 21 has been disabled. A little bit of information for Building 21. There are 4 teams that spawn with a possibility of 3 people on each team, so that means that at most you can encounter 9 enemies. Inevitably you will get full of keys. A good strategy is to keep yellow or legendary keys at first. Consult the list of keys for missions that you will need in higher tier missions so you can have those keys saved and be ready to work on those missions. Recon drones are great when you reach the exfil. You can scan around and look for enemies, so it's a great thing to have at the end of the game. If you're concerned about enemy players around, you can grab a hunt contract. It will show you where one of the teams, if not the closest team to you, is. You can use that information and then cancel the mission, so you have extra free intelligence. I'm sure you're aware that when somebody uses a hunt contract on you, it will tell you how close they are to you, so there's a sort of reverse tracking on hunt missions. You may know that if you call an exfil chopper when the radiation is close, there will be gas masks on the seats waiting for you. Only the team that called the helicopter can grab those gas masks. Enemy teams will not be able to utilize them. Go ahead and take a free gas mask that you can take in with you on the next game. You're able to call the exfil helicopter late, but if the helicopter does not show up in the sky, it is not going to land. You need to call the helicopter early enough for it to appear in the sky. Then it doesn't matter where the radiation is or what they say on the radio. You're also able to sneak into black sites. Most notably, the mall has access through a vent on the side and openings on the top. When you're exfilling, use a vehicle and drive over to the spot. Have one of your teammates call a chopper, and they can either get back into the vehicle or they can run and hide. So at least you're only risking one person on the exfil spot, as there will inevitably be exfil campers. The vehicle can help you to locate, spot, and reposition. Try to coordinate getting in the chopper quickly and together. When all your team members are on the exfil chopper, the timer will skip down to 5 seconds. Did you know that you can shoot through wrecked vehicles when they have holes in them? You can see through and shoot through holes on wrecked vehicles. AI will not be able to shoot you. They might shoot, but generally they just look in your direction, but they can't hit you. You are able to hit the AI and kill them.